Writing. I was tricked into a blind date with a paralyzed woman. They never expected my reaction. The message arrived on a bright Saturday morning, and by sunset, my entire life had changed. I still remember standing outside a small cafe on a quiet street, staring at my phone with growing frustration. My cousin had practically begged me to attend a blind date, insisting that the woman was wonderful, kind, and someone I absolutely needed to meet. I had refused 3 times. Yet somehow, after endless persuasion and promises that I would thank him later, I found myself walking toward the cafe doors. What I didn't know was that several people were secretly waiting to see how I would react. Before we continue, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Storyverse if you believe kindness and second chances can change lives. Stories like this remind us that one decision can transform everything. At 32 years old, Rowan Mercer had stopped believing in surprises. Life had become predictable. He worked as an architect, spent most of his weekdays buried in blueprints, and most weekends helping his aging father repair old furniture. His friends often joked that he lived like a man twice his age. The truth was much more complicated. 5 years earlier, Rowan had been engaged to someone he thought he would spend the rest of his life with. The relationship ended suddenly when she left him for someone else. The betrayal shattered something inside him. Since then, he avoided dating whenever possible. He convinced himself that focusing on work was easier than risking heartbreak again. That was why his cousin's insistence felt so irritating. As Rowan pushed open the cafe door, warm daylight streamed through large windows and spilled across polished wooden floors. The place was peaceful, filled with quiet conversations and the smell of fresh coffee. Then he saw her. She sat near the window in a wheelchair. For a moment, he thought he must have the wrong table. The woman looked up from a book and offered a nervous smile. She appeared to be around 28 years old. Her name, Rowan would soon learn, was Elara Whitmore. She had chestnut hair pulled neatly behind her shoulders and calm gray eyes that seemed both gentle and cautious. Rowan immediately noticed something else. Several people across the cafe were watching. Not openly. Not obviously. But enough to make him uncomfortable. The realization hit him quickly. Someone had intentionally left out an important detail. Nobody had mentioned that his blind date used a wheelchair. A wave of emotions rushed through him, not because of Elara herself, but because he felt manipulated. He hated being deceived. For a few seconds he simply stood there, trying to understand why nobody had been honest. Across the room, a group of people seemed almost frozen with anticipation. They were waiting. Waiting to see if he would walk away. Waiting to see if he would make an excuse. Waiting to see disappointment cross his face. Waiting for the reaction they apparently expected. Instead, Rowan walked forward. He sat down across from Elara and introduced himself. The tension in the room seemed to collapse instantly. Elara looked surprised. Then relieved. Then slightly embarrassed. The conversation began awkwardly. Neither of them knew exactly what to say. But as the minutes passed, something unexpected happened. Rowan forgot about the wheelchair. He became fascinated by the person sitting in front of him. Elara was intelligent, funny, and thoughtful. She spoke passionately about literature, photography, and her dream of someday opening a community art center for children. She had a remarkable ability to find beauty in ordinary things. The way sunlight reflected on old buildings. The way rain transformed city streets. The way strangers helped each other without expecting recognition. For 2 hours, they talked. Then 3. By the time the cafe staff began cleaning nearby tables, Rowan realized he hadn't looked at his phone once. That never happened. As they prepared to leave, Elara hesitated. Her smile faded slightly. There was something she wanted to say. Something she had likely said many times before. Several years earlier, she had been involved in a devastating accident caused by a distracted driver. The crash left her permanently paralyzed from the waist down. The injury changed everything. Friends disappeared. Relationships ended. People began treating her differently. Some pitied her. Others avoided her. Many assumed her life was tragic before even knowing her name. What hurt most wasn't the wheelchair. It was becoming invisible. People stopped seeing Elara. They only saw her condition. Rowan listened quietly. The afternoon sunlight illuminated the table between them. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Rowan said something simple. He told her that the most interesting thing about her was everything she had talked about for the last 3 hours, not the chair she happened to be sitting in. The emotion in her eyes caught him off guard. It wasn't happiness. It wasn't sadness. It was relief. The relief of being seen. Over the following weeks, they continued meeting. Daytime walks through botanical gardens became afternoon conversations beneath flowering trees. Rowan pushed her wheelchair when paths became difficult, though Elara often insisted on handling things herself. He admired that determination. She refused to let circumstances define her. Yet Rowan gradually discovered the hidden challenges she faced every day. Buildings without ramps. Restaurants with inaccessible entrances. People who spoke to her companions instead of speaking directly to her. Employers who quietly doubted her abilities. The world constantly reminded her that she was different. Still, she carried herself with remarkable dignity. One afternoon, Rowan accompanied her to a local art exhibition where some of her photographs were displayed. The gallery was bright and filled with natural daylight. Visitors moved slowly between framed images. Many stopped in front of Elara's work. Her photographs captured moments most people overlooked. An elderly couple holding hands. A child sharing food with a stray dog. A construction worker helping a stranger cross the street. Simple moments. Powerful moments. Human moments. As Rowan observed people admiring her work, he felt proud. Not because she needed validation. But because the world was finally seeing what he already saw. A remarkable person. Yet not everyone shared that perspective. One evening, Rowan accidentally discovered why his cousin had arranged the blind date the way he had. During a family gathering, he overheard a conversation. Several relatives had assumed he would reject Elara immediately upon seeing the wheelchair. Some even placed informal bets about how quickly he would leave. Others claimed that no successful man would willingly pursue a serious relationship with someone in her situation. The comments angered him. Not because they underestimated him. Because they underestimated her. They spoke as if her entire worth could be measured by physical limitations. That night, Rowan couldn't stop thinking about it. He realized society often treated people like Elara as if they were incomplete. As if their dreams mattered less. As if their futures were somehow smaller. The injustice of it unsettled him deeply. Months passed. Their friendship evolved into something neither could ignore. The connection between them became undeniable. Yet Elara remained cautious. Past experiences had left scars. More than once, people entered her life only to leave when reality became inconvenient. She feared becoming emotionally vulnerable again. Rowan understood. Trust wasn't built through promises. It was built through consistency. So he showed up. Again and again. For celebrations. For difficult days. For ordinary afternoons. For everything. One summer morning, they visited a lakeside park outside the city. The sky was clear blue. Children played nearby. Families enjoyed picnics beneath tall trees. As they sat overlooking the water, Elara shared something she rarely discussed. After the accident, she had spent nearly 2 years believing her life was over. Not physically. Emotionally. Every dream she once held seemed impossible. Every future she imagined had vanished. There were days she didn't want visitors. Days she refused to leave home. Days she couldn't recognize herself. Recovery wasn't a straight path. It was a battle. One small step at a time. One difficult morning after another. One decision to keep going. Listening to her, Rowan felt overwhelming admiration. Not because she survived hardship. Because she transformed it. She built strength from pain. Purpose from disappointment. Hope from despair. That evening, as daylight softened across the lake, Rowan realized he loved her. Not despite everything she had endured. Because of who she became through it. The following year brought new challenges. Elara's mother became seriously ill. Medical appointments multiplied. Stress accumulated. Fear returned. For months, Rowan stood beside her through uncertainty and exhaustion. There were hospital waiting rooms. Sleepless nights. Moments when everything felt fragile. During those difficult months, their bond deepened further. Love revealed itself not in grand gestures, but in presence. In patience. In remaining when leaving would be easier. Eventually, her mother recovered. Life stabilized again. And one bright spring afternoon, Rowan decided it was time. He took Elara back to the same cafe where they first met. The same window. The same corner table. Sunlight poured through the glass exactly as it had that first day. Only now everything felt different. The nervous strangers they once were had disappeared. In their place sat two people who knew each other's fears, hopes, strengths, and flaws. Two people who had built something real. Rowan reached into his pocket. His hands trembled. For the first time in years, he felt completely vulnerable. And completely certain. When he proposed, Elara cried before he finished speaking. The answer came through tears and laughter. Yes. 1,000 times yes. News of their engagement spread quickly. Many people celebrated. Others expressed surprise. Some couldn't understand. How could a man choose such a difficult path? Rowan found the question absurd. Because from his perspective, there was nothing difficult about loving someone extraordinary. The wedding took place on a beautiful daytime afternoon surrounded by family, friends, and endless sunlight. Guests gathered beneath white canopies in a garden filled with blooming flowers. As Elara moved down the aisle, something remarkable happened. Many people cried. Not because they felt sorry for her. Because they were witnessing courage. Hope. Perseverance. Love. Everything society claimed was impossible standing right before them. Years later, Rowan often reflected on that first blind date. The one built on deception. The one designed to test him. The one everyone expected to end badly. Ironically, it became the greatest gift he ever received. The people who arranged it thought they were setting up an awkward meeting. Instead, they introduced him to the woman who transformed his life. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Storyverse. Your support helps keep meaningful stories alive and allows more people to discover messages of hope and compassion. And now, a special request: comment below with the word kindness if you believe every person deserves to be valued for who they are, not judged by appearances or limitations. Today, Rowan and Elara continue building a life together filled with laughter, challenges, dreams, and purpose. Their story became a reminder to everyone who knows them that true love is not about finding perfection. It is about recognizing humanity. It is about seeing someone's heart when the world only sees surface details. The people who expected Rowan to walk away never understood something important. The wheelchair was never the story. Elara was. And the moment Rowan chose to see the person instead of the circumstance, everything changed. Sometimes life hides its greatest blessings behind unexpected doors. Sometimes the opportunity we almost reject becomes the very thing that saves us. And sometimes, the reaction nobody expects becomes the beginning of a beautiful future. That is why this story matters. Because every person carries a story deeper than what the eye can see. And every once in a while, someone chooses to look deeper. When they do, lives change forever.